-4 and counting.
Good morning, good Tuesday morning, everyone. Welcome to AirOccupy. We're a show about issues that the Occupy movement is concerned with. I'm with Shannon today. It's just the two of us. Liz and Jerry are taking a little vacation. Although we've participated in Occupy actions, we don't presume to speak for the Occupy movement at large or for any particular Occupy group. We'd love to have you join the conversation today. We're on Twitter at AirOccupy. We're on Facebook. We have a Facebook page, AirOccupy. And our blog is at airoccupy.blogspot.com. Morning, Shannon. What's up?
Hey. Don't think I'm on. Hello?
Can't really hear Shannon.
No, I don't think I'm on. Good morning.
There she is. Hi.
Minor technical difficulties.
Have we had a frantic morning this morning?
I left the music.
Yeah, little bit of running around right there at the end. I think you might have violated not only, well, I won't say anything about the actual laws, but probably the laws of physics, getting back to your house and back in here, so that's cool.
Oh, boy.
So anyway, a couple of things. Deidre McNabb from League of Women Voters, who appeared with us on our voter show, was on The Daily Show the other day. And
I caught that.
Along with Ann McFall. It was a really good report.
It was.
It was very funny about voter registration. And it was, what is the name of the British guy who does those segments? It's gone from my mind, but he's hilarious. Anyway, it's available online, and if you go to the thedailyshow.com website, you can find it by searching for League of Women Voters. It's very good, and we were just really honored to have her with us, and it was so cool to see her in the national media like that.
I think I posted it on our AirOccupy page.
Did you? Okay,
yep, I'm
great.
pretty sure I did.
I've been kind of out of the loop the last few days, dealing with a little bit of a crisis with a friend of mine. So, thanks for you guys for taking care of everything while I couldn't find my shoes or
I think you
remember
repaid the
why I
favor
was
this
born.
morning.
I remember why I was born. Okay, vagina. There, I said it.
Oh, my goodness. Right there on the air.
That's right. A couple of women legislators in Michigan were banned from speaking on the floor as punishment for using the word vagina when talking about some legislation that they were considering.
Did anybody break out the ruler on their knuckles?
I don't
Where's
know,
that
but
ruler?
apparently there was pearl clutching and fainting couches were brought out, and those poor delicate Michigan state legislators.
This is not the 21st century
I
at all.
feel so sorry for them, the poor little dears. So in response, there was a really quickly put together production of the Vagina Monologue staged on the steps of the Capitol building, and several thousand people showed up. So that was a really cool thing, and a lot of people from actresses from all over the country were volunteering to show up and help out,
Yeah.
because it was really kind of a fun thing. So I thought that was an excellent response. So we're going to talk about food today.
Okay, yes. We've got Christopher Cook is going to be our guest today. He's an author and award-winning journalist whose writing has appeared in the Los Angeles Times, Harper's, The Economist, Mother Jones, the Christian Science Monitor, and other national publications, including Alternate. I printed out the article he wrote on Alternate. It's a great one.
Let's make sure we put that up on the blog and the website so people can find it easily.
That's a very good idea.
Okay.
I will do that. He's the author of the acclaimed 2004 book, Diet for a Dead Planet, Big Business in the Coming Food Crisis. The name pretty much says it all.
Yeah,
So.
sounds pretty alarming. And so we'll be talking with him a little bit later on in the show. We'd love to have your calls, of course. Our phone number is 386-523-1380. We can only have one phone call at a time, so during Mr. Cook's interview, we won't be able to have you join us, but you can always stay engaged by leaving a comment on our blog or on our Facebook page. So I was thinking about, and I know this is something that you're really passionate about, but we were just talking the other day with some friends about peanut allergies. When I was a kid, and I'm going to be 58 years old in July. When I was a kid, so yes, it was a long time ago. In fact, it was in another century. But every kid I knew ate peanut butter almost every day. It was served in the school cafeteria. I didn't like it, but everybody else practically lived on it. And I never heard of anyone having an allergic reaction to peanuts. I never heard of it.
You know what? Me either. And I had very much the same history. In fact, I think the whole decade between 5 and 15, I probably ate peanut butter every day.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was just the most common thing in the world. And you remember I made those little truffles, an attempt at some truffles. It ended up being
They were
chocolate and
delicious.
peanut goo.
No,
But
it was good.
it was good goo. And before I brought it over to your house, I asked you, can everyone in your house have peanuts? Because it's so common. If you have a house with 4 people living in it, at least one of them is not going to be able to, breathe the air around a peanut. So I started thinking about that, and I did a little bit of research. Well, it turns out that the rates of peanut allergies in the U.S. doubled between 1997 and 2002. Just that 5-year period, twice as many people developed peanut allergies. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't find any research that specifically says it's about genetically modified organisms, which is something, modifications that corporations have made in plants to make them, well...
Do you know why they're modifying them?
I know 2 reasons, but you tell me.
Well, let's see. Monsanto is modifying its seeds so that it will be ready to receive pesticide, Roundup
Right.
specifically.
Right. And it has a side benefit in that I know corn, for example, will not regerminate from itself. You have to start with fresh seed every year. So Monsanto gets to sell farmers new corn seed for every crop that they need to plant, unlike saving some seed corn out. Or either it won't regerminate or it's illegal for you to keep it because the patented gene is contained in the seed corn, and you're not allowed to have it for free.
It will not regerminate, and there's so many issues tied up with this. But I'm glad you mentioned that. I really wanted a chance to bring this up. Monsanto doesn't just market its seeds here; it's marketing it in third world countries. And one of the places where Monsanto distributed these seeds was India. And in recent years, 125,000 Indian farmers have committed suicide.
Oh, good God.
Because they were wiped out. The seeds, they didn't have seeds for the next crop after planting Monsanto seeds.
And it's a big investment to buy enough seed to plant a crop. And, traditionally, obviously, everyone has saved. I mean, that's what eating your seed corn means, that you save out some corn, so that and that applies to everything. You have to reseed from what you planted the previous year.
Right.
And it's very, very expensive and prohibitively so, in a way that obviously...
Well, I guess it's much easier if you're a major industrial producer in America and you're subsidized by American tax dollars to afford that seed, but not so easy if you're a farmer in India.
Right. It's a horrible thing. So look, I was looking at this allergy thing because, I'm interested in, obviously, their environmental effects. Because they're pesticide resistant, they put more pesticides on them, which kills off beneficial insects, not only in the field, but surrounding the field. There's been butterfly problems because...
Bee problems.
Bees, yeah. So,
problems.
And these pollinators are essential. If our crops don't get pollinated, we're all going to starve. And that's not an exaggeration. That's the way nature works.
I don't know what people don't get about if it kills the bugs and the bees and the birds, what do you think it does to you?
Right. Not good. So there was a study in 99. It was an annual study of food allergens in the UK, found that soy allergies had increased 50% over the previous year.
Wow.
And this trend coincided with the first imports of genetically modified soy from the U.S., which led scientists to strongly suspect a connection. It's not proven. It's suspicious.
Because we don't fund them to prove it.
Well, no, of course not. Monsanto Company study on genetically modified BT corn, which the company was forced to reveal through legal action, showed that rats who ate it experienced a significant increase in 3 types of immune system blood cells. Mm-hmm. Mice fed a diet rich in GM soy had significantly lower levels of pancreatic enzymes, which are needed to break down proteins in the digestive tract.
Wow.
When proteins last longer in the body, they're more likely to provoke an allergic reaction. A type of genetically modified potato has been found to damage the immune system of rats. So, not a theoretical problem, not just a problem if you're not concerned about corporate control of things, but a problem if you eat food.
Well, when you put it that way, you know.
So, but I know this is a subject that's really dear to your heart. So talk a little bit about that, about how this has influenced, your thinking, and you've come into this issue.
Well, actually, that's where my activism started. I have 2 daughters. It started, let's say, 48 hours after I got pregnant. 48 hours after I got pregnant, I went to work and I always made, I ate the same thing every day. It was these little soy twigs and yogurt. I thought I was eating healthy. A handful of nuts, some soy twigs, and yogurt that was light yogurt. I assumed that meant it was low-fat milk, but it turns out that what it actually meant, as I discovered with my first bite in my newly pregnant state, I didn't even know I was pregnant yet, was it meant that it was sweetened with NutraSweet. And I took a bite, and all of a sudden something didn't taste right. I read the back, NutraSweet. Okay. Look it up, not good. Then I have it with regular yogurt, and the next bite doesn't taste right either. And I looked up soy, and lo and behold, there are problems with that too. Hormone disruptors, and this was genetically modified soy. Big issue. I had no idea. It's basically indigestible. Who knew? But it's being marketed like crazy for the health conscious. Which is what I considered myself before I had kids.
Which is, a real issue, because soy is one of the few complete non-animal sources of protein, and has been eaten, of course, in Asia in particular, for just ever. I mean, tofu is a staple for people who, don't have access to a lot of animal protein. It's, should be a very healthy food. It's low in fat,
I guess that's why Big Ag got involved.
Right.
Let's take control of all the staples.
Right.
It went this way as I discovered one thing after another that was harmful that I didn't realize, and culminated in a camping trip when my youngest was about 6 months old, maybe less. I didn't have toothpaste, and I needed to brush my teeth. I had the kids' bag, so I grab a toothbrush and I use their toothpaste. Little children, strawberry flavored,
right.
All natural, wonderful stuff. I was careful about the fluoride. And as soon as it hit my mouth, I recognized the taste from the 1970s. And it was, oh my goodness, what is the name of that? There was in tab.
A sweetener? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Is it aspartame?
No, it's worse than that.
Saccharin.
Saccharin. That's what it was. It was saccharin. Oh,
good. We've got our caller coming in. Well, let's take a real quick break, and we'll get on the phone with Mr. Cook, and we'll be right back with you.
Just make believe you're a tiny little seed. A tiny little seed that's reaching up to meet your need. With the right amount of faith and the right amount of earth, you'll grow to see the sunshine on your day of birth. Let's listen to the land we all love. Nature's plan will shine above. Listen to the land, listen to the land. Let's listen to the land we all love. Nature's plan will shine above. Listen to the land, listen to the land. When springtime comes.
Chair City Supply, a 55-year-old distributor to the furniture industry, now has a product line designed just for you, whether you are a home hobbyist or a professional cabinet maker. For years, we have stocked many quality brands of product for the furniture industry. Now we're able to offer you the same quality products in pack sizes that fit any custom woodworker's requirements. Chair City Supply offers a wide selection of cabinet hardware, professional custom stains, any type of screw or hinge you need, everything to complete your project with style. Visit us at chaircitysupply.com to order today. That's chaircitysupply.com.
T-4 and counting.
All right.
Okay, so that song was from Epcot from an exhibit in the 1980s. And since that version, which says, if you heard it, listen to the land, that has also been modified. And now, if you go on that ride from Epcot, you'll hear living on our land. We don't listen to the land, we own it. That's right.
Subtle little changes, but they mean so
much.
very much. They do. All right, well, joining us now is Christopher Cook. Christopher D. Cook is an author and award-winning journalist whose writing has appeared in the Los Angeles Times, Harper's, The Economist, Mother Jones, the Christian Science Monitor, and other national publications. He's the author of the acclaimed 2004 book, Diet for a Dead Planet, Big Business and the Coming Food Crisis from New Press, now available in paperback. And you can visit his website at ChristopherDCook.com. Hi, Christopher. How are you?
Hi, good. How are you doing?
Good. Thank you so much for being with us. This is Virginia, and with me is Shannon.
Hi, Chris.
Hi.
So a few weeks ago, I was riding in my car, and I had the radio on. And I heard a story on a news report about an initiative that President Obama was launching to provide some food support to hungry people. And my first thought was, oh, great, we're going to feed some Americans who need food. But it turned out that was directed at Africa, which is also a very worthy goal. And the very last line of the story was that this will be accomplished via a coalition of corporate contributors. So, tell us about that?
Well, I have to plead ignorance on the latest iteration of this.
Okay.
But what I can say is that the minute you describe it, it sounds so familiar. I mean, it sounds like the Food for Peace program that Kennedy started in the early 1960s. And essentially, it's the same pattern that the U.S. has shown with food aid since the beginning of the program. And, what it amounts to essentially is, some very desperately needed food assistance to extremely hungry, malnourished people. And who can argue with that? The problem is that it's always a beachhead for corporate agriculture.
Right.
The big commodity groups and the trading corporations, the ones like Cargill and others that actually handle and trade and ship our grain or rice and other products abroad. And this has been shown time after time to be a market opener. And so what happens is it starts off as a very benevolent form of food assistance, but at the same time it crushes the market for small farmers, or really just about any farmers in these other countries, whether it's in Africa or similar versions have also been done in Central America and Mexico, NAFTA. It's not exactly the same thing, but the dynamic is similar.
Right.
In which, we flood foreign markets with our product at heavily subsidized, very cheap rates, and destroys the internal market.
Right. And am I just getting too cynical to continue breathing in my old age? Or is this, do you think this kind of thing in the present, not only the corporate climate, but also the state of technology is more pernicious now than it was in the past?
Well, I guess it depends on how you look at it. I mean, there's the genetically modified foods industry, which is certainly, again, all these things are new iterations on an old theme, which is about, whether you want to be cynical or conspiratorial or not, it's just the fact that as technology develops, whether it's in industrial technology or now we have sort of like the biotech science technologies, it still amounts to ways of developing more new products, but also greater, quote, efficiency, which always has other costs, and then not so efficient in a larger sense. And over time, whether it's the new tractor or the new combine, or, I'm not saying these are bad things, but the point is we need to be clear about all of these new products that essentially have put farmers and workers out of work. And I'm not saying we need to go back to horse-drawn. Nobody wants that. But with genetically modified foods, for instance, we're seeing a new level of corporate control, which, I wrote an article about this a couple years ago, in which I talked about it being a form of scientific and ecological and economic centralization, in which the merging of proprietary seed control, both on the scientific and economic level, has become quite profound. And you have just a few corporations such as Monsanto and Syngenta and DuPont controlling almost half of the global seed supply.
Right.
Yeah.
And seeds are now seen as, it is a form of technology in the looser sense, but it's also now seen as a real market advantage and new technology to have the genetically modified seeds and have the control over that market.
I caught this is Shannon. I caught your article on Alternet for Occupy Our Food Supply. And I just, if you don't mind, I want to read that first opening paragraph. Well, actually, it's the second one. Over the last 30 years, we've witnessed a massive consolidation of our food supply. In that article, you talk about 40,000 food items in a typical U.S. grocery store. More than half are now brought to us by just 10 corporations. 3 companies process more than 70% of all U.S. beef. That's Tyson, Cargill, and JBS. 90% of soybean seeds and 80% of corn seeds are sold by just one company, Monsanto. 4 companies are responsible for 90% of the global trade in grain, and 1 in 4 food dollars is spent at Walmart. So what does this mean? Why should we be concerned about this consolidation of power? What does it mean to the average human?
Sure. I mean, it amounts to a few things. It amounts to, on one level, market control intensifies corporate power in the political sense. In other words, it gives these companies, whether it's, like Monsanto, Walmart, and others, more power in terms of their lobbying influence, their political influence, in ways that don't always show up, that have to do with how they access the revolving door in terms of regulatory agencies. And so we have so many examples of Monsanto executives and other corporate ag executives kind of bouncing back and forth, toggling between the public and private sectors. And, Monsanto getting the green light repeatedly for their new genetically modified seeds. Now, that's not going to happen unless you've got a company of that size and its economic and political clout. So on one level, there's that. And then you've got the other sense is that it deprives both farmers and consumers of real choice in the market. I mean, we can go into the supermarket and we're presented with this array of different products. It seems like such a grand set of choices. Most of those products are owned by just a few corporations. And in reality, we're not, and we're told that, well, Americans must just love junk food more than real foods or produce because that's what we eat. But that's what's promoted in the supermarket aisles. That's what's made cheaper by our subsidy programs, our subsidies, which, again, reflect the control of large agriculture and corporate agribusiness.
I'm glad you
And
mentioned subsidies.
All of these go together. It's not; these are not isolated things. When you get market control, you get more political and economic control, which affects policy in ways that, help, again, cheapen junk food in a variety of ways, which seriously depletes our health as a society. And, what we need instead is, far more farmers markets. Even though there are tons and they're growing, there's still, that and organic foods are still a pretty minor step in the grand scheme of things. And if we were to have a real economic democracy and an economic playing field that accessed by everybody, we would have far more farmers markets and smaller produce stores that featured local and regional produce and organics on a level that was also affordable to people because it was supported by our tax dollars and it was encouraged as a policy.
Liz pointed out a quote from the Prince of Wales last year where he asked how, with our increasing population, we could possibly provide enough food without industrial agriculture. Do you have a response to that? How are we going to feed everybody without industrial agriculture?
Yeah, I mean that's a very powerful myth that keeps getting propagated. The reality is that right now there is more than enough food across the planet to feed everybody, and this is confirmed by data from the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization. You can go through their databases like I did when I was researching my book, and basically it shows that we have enough protein, we have enough calories, we have enough of all the different nutrients in our food supply. It's just a matter of inequality, of wealth and access. And the other thing is that study after study has shown that smaller farms actually can produce food more efficiently per acre than large agribusiness. And this is something that you can break it down, and it has to do with how the land is being replenished. And if you're doing diversified crop rotation and things like that, you're going to be replenishing the soil. It's going to be better for the food, better for the plants. Healthier soils is going to produce a better crop. And with organics, it certainly requires more labor and more intensive focus by the farmers. And if you're getting away from some of the big industrial mechanization, then there are more costs. But again, that's something that we could easily decide to bear as a society. And I don't think anybody that I know of is talking about breaking everything up into these tiny little 1 acre, 2 acre recreational farms or anything like that. I mean, we're talking about diversifying the ecology and the economy of food and allowing small farmers to get in and to survive. Right now in America, we're losing a farm every half an hour. It's quite astounding. About 17,000 farms a year going under. And there are a number of cases of small farmers coming into the business and starting organics or other products, and there are some very small encouragements for that in our public policy from USDA, but they're pretty minor, and we need to really take seriously the idea of creating a new generation of farmers who are encouraged to produce organics. And we hear story after story from farmers who would like to move to organics, but the market signals are not always there. I mean, clearly you get more for your product, but what if you don't have a local supplier? What if you don't have a local place to sell your product? And you don't have other encouragement to do that, and you're locked into contracts with pesticide companies.
And it's kind of like, I think this may be overly simplified comparison, but it's kind of like maybe the market for recycled products. You can't buy them because nobody's making them, because there's no demand for them, because nobody's making them, so they can't create a demand. And it's much more difficult for people to get their hands on locally grown food. I know I've gone out of my way for it, and it's not easy where we live. And Florida is a huge agricultural state. We can get citrus fruit that's grown pretty locally. But, I have to go to the next county to go to a farmer's market where I can buy food that other than citrus fruit that's grown within 150 miles of where I live. So it's kind of a knotty problem. And can you think of a way that, that can be addressed, a wedge to get that started?
I think it has started in many parts of the country, and not just the sort of urban centers like San Francisco and other sort of havens of
Volvo driving, latte sipping.
Right, I know all those stereotypes, and we fit some of them, but not all of them. But and that's the other thing. Organic food is and is not. It's not an elite thing. It's just that it's become, because by the virtue of how the market is set up in our public policies, it's been framed as something that's elite because many people cannot afford it.
Right.
But the reality is that what we can do and what we have to do is begin subsidizing and incentivizing, as they like to say in the policy realm, organic production, transition to organics, and we have the Farm Bill being debated right now on the Senate floor, and then it's going to move to the House later this summer. And this is a critical, arena in which to try to define how our tax dollars are going to get spent and on what kind of food supply. And, there are market signals for organics and for local agriculture in many parts of the country.
So,
So the reality is that many people want these foods, but again, they're not available in many places, and they're still too expensive for many people. And I'm, as a writer and journalist, I'm sensitive to that. We don't make a whole lot of money ourselves, most of us. So I think that what people need to see is that these are not like pie in the sky things that don't already exist. These are things that already exist. Local food connection programs, they call them food circles, food sheds.
actually, I did that here locally, because it is expensive. So I organized with my church and my neighbors and parent co-op. We organized an organic co-op where there were some local farms. They're not certified, but they use organic growing practices. And that's how we worked it. There was a distributor on the west coast of Florida, and we joined with them. It is possible, and more of that is popping up. I saw there's a Flagler Organics group and a Daytona, I think, Organics group. It is occurring, and more people are planting their own gardens at home. In the Victory Garden style, where they can have control over their food source to some extent. I think what you're saying. One of the things that we really need to look at is we're not paying the actual cost of industrial agriculture. We're not seeing it. We're not paying it.
Right.
We're paying it with our health. We're paying it with our tax dollars and federal subsidies. But we don't see the cost at the grocery store.
Exactly.
You mentioned the Farm Bill. This is a different Farm Bill, right? This is a different Farm Bill than we've had before in recent years. Is that correct?
Well, yeah. I mean, they do a new Farm Bill every 5 years. They reauthorize the Farm Bill, and it's a chance for groups, farmers, environmentalists. Hopefully, they're not distinct groups either, and all sorts of other groups to try to change the course of public policy. And as you say, very correctly, as a society, we're paying quite phenomenal costs already for the current food system, which, in other words, more than $100 billion a year in health costs related to diet-related diseases, heart disease, diabetes being two of the big ones there. From our culture and our economy of overeating and of consuming junk food that, again, is subsidized by our tax dollars. So we're paying twice. First, we pay these subsidies, which go to, and I'm not against subsidies, but it's, they're going to primarily large-scale agriculture, to just a few commodity groups, rice, corn, soy, and a couple others, that are primarily used as food additives. They're used in processed food, and they're used for export, and they're used for livestock feed. And so in the end, we're helping to subsidize supposedly cheap McDonald's hamburgers and Burger King and the others, and Coca-Cola and Pepsi and those soft drinks sweetened by corn. And this is leading to these diet-related diseases.
You actually mentioned you mentioned that in the Alternate article. You talked about recently 37 million used in the fight against junk food marketing guidelines for kids.
Right. I mean, it's phenomenal. You get to some things that are so basic, whether it's labeling something that's genetically modified, just so that people at least know what they're buying, or in this case, issuing some nutrition guidelines for kids. and you can't even get that, and then you get these fights over what's considered fresh produce or fresh food in the school lunch program. The industry piles on again because they've got millions and millions of dollars at stake in protecting what they have right now, which is the centralized, it's another form of food dumping. They take all this excess food off the market to help prop
Pink
up
slime.
prices. And they dump some of the worst food, pink slime. There's a long tradition of this, whether it's in the school lunch program or back in the 70s and probably still today, I don't know. But, there were a lot of food aid programs where they were dumping really, really lousy, unhealthy food into Native America as well. They were sending some of the worst meat to Native America. And I assume that some of this may still be going on. I don't know, but it did in the past. And so there's a whole history of this. And I'm not saying the industry is out to kill us or hurt us, but they're in it for their dollars. And they fight doggedly to protect those dollars, even when it's very clearly well documented that it's at the expense of our health and the environment. And it's, and again, it's connected to these 17,000 farmers going out of business each year.
Right.
The ongoing sort of corporate control, and what that means, again, is that our tax dollars are subsidizing agriculture getting more and more centralized in these few commodities run by agribusiness, putting farmers out of business and off the land, and those are social and economic costs too.
Again, and exactly, and we keep coming back to this on this show every time we visit a topic that involves corporate control of another aspect of the way, particular America operates. We come back to the purpose of a corporation is to make a profit. A corporation is not a moral being. It does not have an obligation to consider the consequences of its behavior. It has an obligation to make a profit for its shareholders or for its owners. And that's the big disconnect is we can't expect them, and we wouldn't rationally expect them to, especially at this point in our history, to be rational altruistic actors. We have to have another way of handling that.
And actually, that's along those lines. The argument is that in a free market, we have the choice of how we're going to vote with our dollars, but that doesn't really take into account the effect of advertising. And I don't think people are aware, to what extent advertising operates on a subliminal level. There was a study, I've talked about it a few times, it was on people purchasing cars, where they thought they were making this very rational, well-considered decision. And in this survey, it turned out that they actually had no idea why they were buying the car. They were buying it based on an advertisement that they'd heard, and they thought it was their own original thought.
Well, I know the reason you're supposed to buy Cheetos is because of a tiger wearing sunglasses.
That's cool.
That's
Yeah.
why I buy them.
Exactly.
We do have a few callers on here. If you guys are willing to hang on for a while, we will try to get to you, or you could submit the question on our Facebook page, or at AirOccupy.blogspot.com.
But yeah, if you want to hang in there, we'll take you after we wrap up with Mr. Cook.
Okay.
So I think
I know we're running a little bit. The time is getting up there. What would you say we should do? Let's go to that. Where do we go from here? What do we do to affect some changes? I know this farm bill. What I was trying to get to is this farm bill moves to end subsidies to big agriculture, that's what I meant when I said something different. What should we do?
Yeah, so I resisted that frame a little bit, because the reality is that they are they're shifting these dollars from subsidies per se to crop insurance.
I noticed that.
Yeah, very tricky. And what people have been able to gather is that actually there are pretty large gains in the crop insurance program for insurance corporations. So this is not about, or not entirely about, just making sure that some small farmer in the area gets protected if the weather destroys their crop or dampens their crop or prices go down. I think we all want to protect farmers in that way. But again, the largest amounts of the money are going to go to the biggest farmers, and a lot of the money is going to go to these big crop insurance corporations, which have made sure to get their piece of the pie here. And again, these are our tax dollars, and why are they going to crop insurance corporations?
I was just going to ask that.
There's really nothing in it for us, and there's nothing in it for the farmer in that case either. And so what I think we need to do is, partially we need to do what you guys have done in Florida, and it's happening around the country, where people are building their own little food systems, or not so little food systems, building those connections. There are, again, these food circle ideas where people organize with local farmers and local markets and develop those relationships more, and people work with their churches or with other organizations that they know of in the area and neighbors, and develop community gardens. Now, these are not solutions to the food crisis that we have today, but they are very important steps that people can take tangibly locally. But at the same time, we have to watch and try to influence the public policy, because it's not going away just because we ignore it or we decide to just go local with our activism. The reality is that's going to continue, and it's going to be worse if we don't chime in with a voice and speak loudly and clearly for our public money to be invested in a new food system instead of the old one. It's really actually the old food system. It's going back and saying, let's take part of the old system and part of the new one, but let's subsidize, let's invest our money in local and regionally based organic production and those market relationships across the country, so that farmers have those signals to go and produce organic and transition to organic and do diversified crop rotation, and to get away from this huge sort of monocrop system that we have right now with the commodities, which is destructive of the land and feeds our waistlines
Right.
and all that. So there are so many good solutions out there. People can look at Marcy Kaptur from Ohio has some good legislation to create community agriculture and employment programs. So people could look that up. And Senator Casey has some legislation from Pennsylvania, has some legislation to try to make the milk marketing system more fair and more balanced. And then there are groups, a couple of groups I want to, encourage people to look up. The Environmental Working Group,
Love
and
them.
the Campaign for Sustainable Agriculture, and the National Family Farm Coalition. Perhaps if you have a website, you can provide their websites, but they're all doing excellent work to try to make the Farm Bill and our tax dollars something that's more responsive to a sustainable, more balanced food system.
Right. You gave us Environmental Working Group, Campaign for Sustainable
Agriculture.
and what was the third one?
And the last one is the National Family Farm Coalition.
National Family Farm Coalition. Okay, we'll find links for those for our readers. And one of our a commenter on the blog said, local food hubs, we need them. And I also got a comment on my Facebook timeline. Civilization begins when somebody has enough power to start locking up the food supply and controlling the distribution.
Oh boy. We've actually we have begun some of that stuff here. We have a community garden that's actually been in effect for years. A couple friends of mine, Corey Trusty and Joel Tippins, had a lot to do with its origins, and that's on George Ingram at the old Bonner Elementary. And Food Not Bombs, which started up, they had a lot of joint members with Occupy Daytona, and we've worked together. They're very involved in the community garden and in helping to feed the people who are hungry in our community, and we have a lot of them.
Yes, we do.
It's
Too
increased.
many communities.
Yep, 400%. 400% it's increased here.
Well, Our guest has been Christopher Cook, and the book again is Diet for a Dead Planet, Big Business and the Coming Food Crisis. More details about him and his writing at ChristopherDCook.com. Christopher, thank you so much for being with us. It's really been a pleasure and an education.
Maybe we could do this again sometime soon because we didn't even cover much of what I would have loved to.
Yeah, we'd love to have you another time if you'd be willing.
I would love to. It's been a great conversation.
Fabulous.
Appreciate it.
Well, thank you.
very
Have a
much.
great day. All righty. Let's take a little break, and then we'll see who's on the phone.
Goliath is proud to support community organizations with messages like this.
Have you been to the newly renovated Habitat for Humanity Restore? Located at 695 Mason Avenue, Daytona Beach, between Nova and US 1, the store is open Tuesday through Saturday from 9 to 4:30. New, used, and surplus donated goods of home furnishings, appliances, and building materials arrive daily. Our donors and customers help Habitat serve more families through the renovation and construction of affordable housing. Stop in today or phone at 386-226-2006 to arrange for the pickup of large donated items. Again, the number is 386-226-2006. If you value the opportunity to recycle, reuse, reduce, and rebuild, you will be a big fan of the Restore. The Restore supports Halifax Habitat for Humanity. Stop in today.
Hi, everybody. This is Shannon with AirOccupy. Our last show is scheduled for July 3rd. If you'd like to help us stay on the air, please consider donating. You can email us at general@airoccupy.com. We're working on a donate button. We'll have that up within a few days. And if you like hearing us, we'd really like to stay on the air, and we could use all the help we can get. Thanks.
Yes, please. Thank you for listening.
Okay, it looks like we've got a couple callers. We're going to take a call. Hello, you're on the air. Thank you so much for your patience.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
Who's this?
Hey, my name is Tony.
Hi, Tony. What's
Tony.
up?
Okay, well, I'm wondering, I caught most of the show this morning. I missed about the first 20 minutes, but I'm wondering why I haven't heard anyone talk about chemtrails on this show, because it's certainly relevant.
Well, thanks a lot
Well-
for bringing that up, and we're going to get to that.
We were specifically talking about industrial agriculture. So,
Well, this certainly is in that category because Monsanto is going to pose...
Okay, well, we're gonna talk about that another time. Not really germane to this particular topic. Who else we got? Hi, who's this?
Hello.
Hi, who's this?
you're on the air?
This is Phil in Port Orange.
Hey, Phil. What's on your mind?
Well, I think thank you for a great show and a great topic. And I was hoping to pose a question to the guest, but he mentioned the Farm Bill, and I think a big part of helping our farmers stay in business is the campaign to decriminalize industrial hemp. And that's another crop that not only provides all kinds of healthy foods through the hemp seed itself. But it's good for the soil. It's good for the environment. There's no need for pesticides, and it's criminalized simply as a means of being having the competition for petrochemicals eliminated. You talk about the big agribusiness and the money that goes into control over this. The fact of the matter is we have people power, and the answer is us. Sure, we have to lobby our legislators just as the big money does, and that takes people in numbers. But also we have to get up our rear ends and get out there, just like the community gardens are, the Food Not Bombs people, you folks having your radio show and writing letters to the editor. There is a young man in Florida running for state senator, John Shaw, JOHNSHAW, and his platform is decriminalizing industrial hemp as a means to save our farmers here in Florida and rejuvenate the economy. And the Farm Bill, the federal Farm Bill, just last week, Senator Wyden out of Oregon added a provision to decriminalize industrial hemp to the
good.
Senate Farm Bill. So it just goes to show that people pushing for something, we can get what we want as long as we stay with it and push hard enough, educate our fellows.
Thanks, Phil. We're running out of time.
Yeah,
and
that's a good point,
I saw a study on that. I'll post it on the AirOccupy website along with this information.
Thank you for a great show, guys.
Thanks
you.
a lot for calling,
right.
Phil. Yeah, it's a good point. The hemp problem is pretty interesting. The way it became illegal is pretty interesting in the first place, going back to the 1930s. So it's something that really needs to be looked at because it's a good fiber. It's so useful for so many things. It's easier to grow than a whole lot of other things, and it doesn't require as much petroleum. So, it's a good point.
Okay, so it's been a great show, and
thanks to Mike and to John for their help. We really appreciate it. And I guess that wraps it up. We'll talk to you next week. Next week's our last show. If you want to help us stay on the air, we'd love it. Oh, no, not next week. The 3rd of July is our last show. And we'd love your help. You can email us at general@AirOccupy or just, hand me a check when you see me.
Oh, yeah. And next week, healthcare.
Healthcare. Awesome.
Yeah.
Good
so
topic.
Check it out.
All right. Thanks a lot. Have a great day.
Bye.
Breathe.